Dr. Jake Williams wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the strange crystal sitting on his workbench. 3 months on Vega Prime, and this weird rock was driving him crazy. The thing was about the size of a football, perfectly smooth, and seemed to glow with its own inner light. But no matter what he and his team tried, it just sat there doing nothing. Jake had been digging up alien ruins for 15 years, but this artifact was different. Most alien tech they found was either broken beyond repair or so simple that even a child could figure it out. This crystal, though, felt important. Really important. The energy readings were off the charts, and it seemed to pulse faster whenever humans got close to it. Dr. Lisa Carter, his team leader, thought they should pack it up and ship it back to Earth for the big labs to study. Mike Torres, their tech guy, had tried every scanner, probe, and activation sequence in the book. Nothing worked. The crystal just sat there, beautiful and useless. It was 2 in the morning, and Jake was alone in the research tent. Everyone else had gone to bed hours ago, but he couldn't sleep. Something about this artifact kept pulling him back. He'd been sitting here for 3 hours, just staring at it and thinking. The dig site was quiet except for the hum of their generators and the distant sound of Vega Prime's strange purple winds. Jake rubbed his tired eyes and leaned back in his chair. They'd found this thing buried deep under what used to be some kind of alien temple. The whole structure was thousands of years old, maybe older. "Come on, you stupid rock," Jake muttered, poking the crystal with his finger. "We've tried everything. Heat, cold, electricity, sound waves, even playing it music. What do you want from us?" The crystal just sat there, glowing softly like it was mocking him. Jake stood up and started pacing around the small tent. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, and his back ached from hunching over the workbench. This was his 3rd expedition to alien worlds, and he'd never felt so frustrated. Usually, when they found alien technology, it either worked or it didn't. This thing felt like it was waiting for something. "You know what," Jake said, turning back to the crystal. "I'm tired of playing games. If you're some kind of advanced alien computer or whatever, just turn on already. We're not going to hurt you. We just want to learn." Still nothing. Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. Here he was, talking to a rock like it could understand him. His colleagues back on Earth would think he'd lost his mind. Dr. Jake Williams, respected scientist, having a conversation with a crystal at 2 in the morning on an alien planet. But the strangest part was that talking to it actually felt natural. Like the crystal was listening to every word. "Look," Jake said, sitting back down and leaning closer to the artifact. "I don't know what you are or where you came from. Maybe you're a weapon, maybe you're a tool, maybe you're just a really expensive paperweight. But we've been trying to figure you out for weeks, and you haven't given us even a tiny hint." He picked up the crystal, surprised as always by how warm it felt. Not hot, just pleasantly warm, like it had been sitting in sunlight. "My team thinks I'm obsessed with you," Jake continued, turning the crystal over in his hands. "And maybe they're right. But I've spent my whole career studying dead alien civilizations, and you feel different. You feel alive." Jake set the crystal back down and stared at it. The soft glow seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat, but that was probably just his imagination. "So here's the deal," he said, his voice getting more sarcastic. "I'm going to bed in 5 minutes. If you want to do something interesting, now's your chance. Otherwise, Lisa's going to pack you up tomorrow and ship you off to some government lab where they'll probably cut you into tiny pieces." Jake waited. Nothing happened. "Fine," he said, standing up and stretching. "Have it your way, you stubborn piece of space junk. But don't blame me when you end up in a warehouse somewhere, collecting dust next to all the other mysterious alien artifacts that nobody can figure out." He started walking toward the tent flap, then stopped and looked back one more time. "Oh, and just so we're clear," Jake said with a tired grin, "if you ever decide to actually work, all you have to do is wake up." The moment the words left his mouth, the crystal exploded with brilliant white light. Jake stumbled backward as the crystal's light filled the entire tent. The glow was so bright he had to shield his eyes, but somehow it didn't hurt to look at. When the light finally dimmed, a voice spoke directly into his mind. Not through his ears, but like someone was talking inside his head. "Greetings, inheritor. I am a keeper, left by those you would call the builders. Your genetic pattern matches our records. You are human." Jake's hands shook as he stared at the crystal, which now hovered 3 feet above the workbench, spinning slowly. "You can talk," he whispered. "I have been waiting for your species to find me. The builders programmed me to recognize the unique DNA markers they placed in your bloodline long ago. You are their chosen successors." Before Jake could ask what that meant, Alarms started blaring throughout the camp. His teammates came running into the tent, followed by security guards. Lisa Carter took one look at the floating crystal and immediately started barking orders into her radio. "This is Base Camp to Earth Command. We have an active alien artifact. Repeat, we have first contact. Request immediate military support." Within 6 hours, 3 military ships had landed near their dig site. Jake spent the morning in endless meetings with scientists, military officers, and people in suits who never gave their real names. But every time someone else tried to talk to the crystal, it went silent and dropped back onto the workbench like a normal rock. Colonel Robert Hayes, a no-nonsense military man with gray hair and cold eyes, set up a command tent right next to their research area. Jake could hear him on conference calls with Earth, using words like strategic advantage and national security asset. Dr. Lisa Carter had transformed from Jake's friendly colleague into a government scientist focused on protocols and procedures. She kept asking Jake to write detailed reports about his conversation with the artifact while teams of specialists ran every scan they could think of. But the Keeper only spoke to Jake, and only when he was alone. "Why won't you talk to the others?" Jake asked during a brief moment when the military guard stepped outside. The builder's instructions were clear. Only one human per Keeper can form the initial bond. You spoke the activation words. The connection belongs to you. What connection? What do you want from me? To unlock my full capabilities, I require a genetic sample. A drop of your blood will confirm your heritage and allow me to share the builder's gift with humanity. Jake felt his stomach twist. What kind of gift? Technologies beyond your current understanding. Weapons that could defend your species. Ships that travel between stars in days instead of years. Medical advances that could eliminate disease and extend life. The tent flap opened and Colonel Hayes walked in with 2 guards. "Williams, we need to talk." Jake looked up at the tall military officer. "About what?" "About your responsibility to your species," Hayes said, pulling up a chair. "That thing has been talking to you for hours. Our linguists can't even figure out what language it's using, but somehow you understand every word." "It speaks directly into my mind," Jake said. "I don't think it uses language the way we do." Hayes leaned forward. "What does it want?" Jake glanced at the crystal, which had started glowing softly again. He could feel the Keeper waiting for his answer, watching through sensors he couldn't see. "It wants a blood sample. It says that will unlock its full capabilities." "Then give it to them," Hayes said immediately. "Colonel," Dr. Lisa Carter interrupted, entering the tent with a tablet full of data. "We don't know what that thing might do with human genetic material. It could be some kind of biological weapon designed to target our species. Or it could be exactly what it claims," Hayes countered. "Advanced alien technology that could change everything for humanity." Jake stood up and walked over to the crystal. The moment he got close, the Keeper's voice filled his mind again. "I understand your caution, Jake Williams. But know this, other species search for Keepers across the galaxy. They would claim the builder's inheritance for themselves and use it against humanity. Time grows short." "What other species?" Jake asked out loud. Hayes and Carter exchanged looks. "What's it saying now?" Carter demanded. Jake turned to face them. "It says other aliens are looking for these artifacts. If they find them first, they'll use the technology against us." "All the more reason to act quickly," Hayes said. "We need those weapons and defenses." "But what if giving it my blood changes me somehow?" Jake asked. "What if it's not just accessing the technology, but altering my DNA?" The tent fell silent. Outside, Jake could hear the sounds of the military setting up a full base camp. Hundreds of people were now involved in this discovery, but the choice came down to him alone. The Keeper pulsed gently. "The choice must be yours, inheritor. But choose quickly. My sensors detect ships approaching this system. They do not carry human signatures." Jake stared at the small medical scanner in Dr. Lisa Carter's hand. One quick prick of his finger, and everything would change. The crystal floated silently above the workbench, waiting for his decision. Colonel Hayes stood behind him, arms crossed, while a dozen scientists and military personnel crowded into the tent. "Just a drop," Jake muttered to himself. "What's the worst that could happen?" He held out his index finger. The scanner made a tiny beep, and a small dot of blood appeared. Before Jake could even feel the pain, the Keeper began to glow brighter than ever before. The blood drop floated through the air toward the crystal, defying gravity. When it touched the surface, the entire artifact turned deep red for a moment, then blazed with golden light. Jake felt a strange tingling sensation spread through his entire body, starting from his fingertip and racing up his arm. Genetic verification complete, the Keeper's voice echoed in his mind. Welcome, inheritor. Prepare to see the truth. The world around Jake disappeared. Suddenly, he was floating in space, but he could breathe perfectly. Below him spread a beautiful blue and green planet that looked almost like Earth, but with 2 moons and rings like Saturn. Cities of crystal and metal covered the continents, reaching up toward the sky in impossible spirals and curves. This was our world, the Keeper's voice explained. We called ourselves the Builders, though you would find our true name unpronounceable. We lived for thousands of years and spread across the galaxy, creating and exploring. Jake watched as the scene changed. Now he saw the Builders themselves. They were tall, graceful beings with 4 arms and skin that shimmered like oil on water. Their faces were kind but alien, with large eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. We discovered something terrible, the Keeper continued. A darkness spreading between the stars. Other species that consumed worlds and destroyed everything in their path. We realized that our peaceful nature made us weak against such threats. The vision showed builder worlds under attack. Strange, insect-like creatures swarmed over cities, leaving nothing but ash and ruin. Jake felt the builder's fear and desperation as if it were his own. We could not change our nature, but we could create successors who possessed what we lacked. Courage in the face of overwhelming odds. The ability to fight when fighting seemed hopeless. The strength to make hard choices. Now Jake saw builder scientists working in vast laboratories. They were examining genetic codes from hundreds of different species, looking for the right combination of traits. Intelligence, adaptability, creativity, but also something more. A spark of defiance that refused to give up. We found the perfect base species on a small planet in what you call the Orion Arm, primitive creatures who had already survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and countless other disasters. They were resourceful, stubborn, and remarkably good at working together when threatened. Jake realized he was looking at early humans, maybe 100,000 years ago. They looked almost exactly like modern people, but something was different about their eyes. They seemed less than what humans had become. We enhanced them carefully, the Keeper explained. Better pattern recognition, improved problem-solving abilities, stronger social bonds, and most importantly, an unshakable belief that any problem could be solved if they just tried hard enough. The vision showed builders visiting Earth in sleek, silent ships. They worked at night, taking volunteers from human tribes and making subtle changes to their genetic code. Then they returned them with no memory of what had happened, but carrying new capabilities in their DNA. We seeded the galaxy with keepers like myself, then we withdrew to let humanity develop naturally. By the time you were ready to claim your inheritance, we knew we would be gone. What happened to you? Jake asked, though somehow he already knew the answer. The vision showed the final battle. The Builders' crystal cities burning under attack from a vast alien alliance. Species that had once been enemies, now united in their hatred of the Builders' creations. They had learned about humanity and were determined to destroy the enhanced humans before they could spread across the galaxy. We held them off long enough for your species to grow strong, the Keeper said. But we paid the price. This Keeper contains the last memories of our civilization. Jake found himself back in the tent, but now he could see so much more. The crystal wasn't just an artifact. It was a library containing the accumulated knowledge of an entire galactic civilization. Blueprints for ships that could cross the galaxy in weeks. Weapons that could defend entire solar systems. Medical technology that could cure any disease and extend human life for centuries. But he could also see something else. Ships moving through space toward their location. Alien vessels filled with creatures that had spent thousands of years hunting for Keeper sites. They know you've activated me, the Keeper warned. The consortium has been watching for the signs. They will arrive within days. The consortium? Jake asked. 7 different species, united by their determination to prevent humanity from claiming our inheritance. They would rather see the galaxy burn than watch humans inherit our power. Colonel Hayes grabbed Jake's shoulder. What's happening? Your eyes are glowing. Jake looked around the tent and realized he could see energy patterns flowing through all the electronic equipment. He could sense the heartbeats and brain activity of everyone around him. The genetic enhancements were already starting to activate. We're about to have visitors, Jake said quietly. And they're not coming to welcome us to the galactic community. 3 days after Jake's blood touched the crystal, the sky above Vega Prime turned dark with alien ships. They came out of nowhere, dropping from hyperspace like angry wasps. Jake stood in the command tent watching the radar screens light up with hostile contacts while Colonel Hayes barked orders into his radio. 18 ships and counting, reported tech specialist Mike Torres, his voice tight with fear. They're not responding to any communications. Jake felt the Keeper's presence in his mind, stronger now since the blood bonding. The consortium has found us. They call themselves the Dominion now, united in their hatred of humanity's potential. Through the tent's clear walls, Jake could see the first alien ships descending through the atmosphere. They were nothing like the sleek builder vessels from his visions. These ships looked like weapons that grew instead of being built. Organic curves covered in spikes and armor, with energy weapons already charging along their hulls. Jake, we need to evacuate now, Dr. Lisa Carter said, grabbing his arm. The transport ships are ready. We can have you off-planet in 20 minutes. But Jake shook his head. If I leave, they'll destroy everything here and move on to Earth. The Keeper says I'm the only one who can activate the builder defenses. What defenses? Colonel Hayes demanded. This is a research camp, not a military base. Jake closed his eyes and reached out with his enhanced senses. The genetic modifications were getting stronger by the hour. He could feel ancient technology buried all around their dig site, hidden beneath the soil for thousands of years. The whole planet is a defense system, Jake said quietly. The builders didn't just leave artifacts here. They turned Vega Prime into a fortress. The first alien attack came without warning. Beams of green energy lanced down from the sky, striking the outer perimeter of their camp. The defensive shields Colonel Hayes had set up lasted about 3 seconds before overloading in showers of sparks. Everyone to the bunkers. Hayes shouted, but Jake was already moving toward the excavation site. Jake, where are you going? Lisa called after him. To wake up this planet's defenses before we all get vaporized. Jake ran through the camp as alien fighters screamed overhead. The dig site where they'd found the Keeper was now glowing with the same golden light as the crystal. Ancient symbols were appearing on the stone walls, pulsing in rhythm with Jake's heartbeat. He reached the central excavation pit just as the first alien troops started landing. They looked like a nightmare combination of insect and machine, with too many legs and weapons grafted directly onto their bodies. Their ships had dropped them in squads of 10, and they were moving with military precision toward the human positions. Jake placed his hands on the glowing symbols carved into the builder temple walls. The moment his skin touched the ancient stone, power surged through him like lightning. Information flooded his mind. Defense protocols. Weapon systems. Tactical networks that had been sleeping for millennia. I need everyone out of the dig site now, Jake said into his radio. This whole area is about to become very dangerous. Mike Torres was helping evacuate the research team when he spotted Jake standing in the temple ruins. Jake, what are you doing down there? Something I probably should have done 3 days ago, Jake replied. The Keeper's voice filled his thoughts. You carry the prime code, Jake Williams. Your genetic pattern is a perfect match for builder technology. Not just compatible, but designed to interface directly with our most advanced systems. Jake felt the planet's defense network coming online around him. Weapons that had been dormant since before humans learned to use fire were now targeting the alien ships above. But there was a problem. The system required constant human control. Someone had to stay connected to the network, channeling the builder technology through their enhanced DNA. If I do this, can I disconnect later? Jake asked the Keeper. Unknown. No human has ever interfaced with a planetary defense system. You would be the first. Above them, more alien ships were arriving. Jake could see their sensors scanning the human positions, looking for him specifically. They knew he was the key to activating the builder inheritance. Mike's voice crackled over the radio. Jake, we've got bugs moving toward your position. At least 30 of them. Jake looked up and saw the alien soldiers advancing down the slope toward the dig site. Their weapons were already charged and aimed at him. In the distance, he could hear the sounds of the human military trying to hold defensive positions against overwhelming odds. Colonel Hayes's voice cut through the radio chatter. Williams, we can't hold them much longer. Whatever you're planning to do it now. Jake pressed both hands against the builder control surface. The ancient symbols blazed with light, and suddenly he could see through sensors positioned all across the planet. Defense turrets rising from hidden positions. Shield generators powering up. Weapon platforms that had been disguised as natural rock formations for thousands of years. But he could also feel his connection to his own body growing weaker. The builder technology was designed for their species, not humans. Using it was like trying to channel lightning through copper wire. He could do it, but not for long. Lisa, Mike, get everyone to the evacuation ships, Jake said into his radio. I'm going to buy you some time. We're not leaving you, Lisa replied immediately. You have to. This system needs someone to control it, and I'm the only one with the right genetic code. But I can't hold it forever. Jake felt the planetary defenses lock onto the alien ships above. Energy weapons that could crack moons began charging. This was going to be the shortest siege in galactic history. Jake's hands burned against the builder control surface as alien weapons fired down at the dig site. Energy blasts turned ancient stone to glass around him, but somehow none of them found their mark. The planetary defense system was protecting him, wrapping him in shields that shimmered like heat waves. Jake, talk to me, Mike's voice crackled through his earpiece. The evacuation ships are loaded, but Lisa refuses to leave without you. Jake could barely hear him. The connection to the builder network was getting stronger, and his human consciousness was starting to feel like a small boat in an ocean of alien technology. Through sensors across the planet, he watched his friends running toward the transport ships while alien soldiers pursued them. Go, Jake whispered into his radio. I've got this. But he wasn't sure he did. The defense systems were responding to his commands, but using them felt like trying to control a hurricane with his bare hands. Ancient weapons platforms rose from hidden positions around the planet, their energy signatures so powerful they made the alien ships' weapons look like flashlights. The Keeper's voice filled his mind, but now it sounded different. Closer. Like it was speaking from inside his own thoughts instead of from the crystal. The full bonding is beginning, Jake Williams. Your consciousness and mine are merging. This will allow you to access the complete builder inheritance, but there is no returning to what you were before. Jake felt his awareness expanding beyond the planet. He could sense other Keeper sites scattered across the galaxy, dormant and waiting. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, each one containing pieces of builder knowledge and technology that could transform human civilization. The lead alien ship, massive and covered in weapon turrets, moved into position directly above the dig site. Jake could feel its commander's thoughts through the builder sensors. Cold, calculating, absolutely determined to prevent humanity from claiming their inheritance. End the human before the awakening completes, the alien commander ordered his fleet. Use orbital bombardment if necessary. Jake smiled grimly and reached deeper into the planetary defense network. The builder weapons weren't just more powerful than anything the aliens had. They were smarter, designed to adapt and learn from each attack. The first defense turret that rose from the excavation site looked like a crystal flower blooming from solid rock. When it fired, the beam didn't just hit the lead alien ship. It punched through its shields, armor, and hull like they were made of paper, then continued on to strike two more ships behind it. Impossible, the alien commander's thoughts echoed through Jake's enhanced senses. Builder weapons have been dormant for millennia. How is a primitive human controlling them? Jake felt his connection to the Keeper deepening. Memories that weren't his own flooded his mind. The rise and fall of the builder civilization. Their desperate hope that humanity would one day be ready to inherit their legacy. The love they had felt for their created children, even knowing they would never live to see them grow into their full potential. More alien ships fell as the planetary defenses came fully online. Jake wasn't just controlling weapons now. He was the weapons. His consciousness flowed through every system, every sensor, every targeting computer. He could feel each alien ship's weaknesses, predict their movements before their own pilots knew what they would do. But something else was happening too. As Jake bonded more completely with the builder technology, he began to sense the other Keeper sites across the galaxy. They were calling to him, waiting for his signal to awaken. The time has come, the Keeper's voice said, but now it was his own voice too. Send the awakening call. Let humanity claim what the builders left for them. Jake reached out with his enhanced consciousness, sending a pulse of energy that traveled faster than light across the galaxy. On distant worlds, buried Keeper sites began to glow. Ancient shipyards started building vessels designed for human hands. Medical facilities that could extend human lifespans began preparing for their first patients. The alien commander's ship was the last one remaining, its weapon systems destroyed but still trying to escape Vega Prime's gravity well. Jake could have destroyed it easily, but instead he opened a communication channel. Your species spent thousands of years trying to prevent this moment, Jake said, his voice carrying across space through builder communication arrays. But the builders chose well. Humanity will not repeat their mistakes. Humans are weak, the alien commander replied. You lack the strength to rule the galaxy. We don't want to rule it, Jake said quietly. "We want to protect it." Jake released the alien ship, watching it limp away toward the edge of the system. Let them carry the news back to their allies. Let them know that humanity had awakened to its inheritance. The transport ships carrying his friends were already disappearing into hyperspace, heading back to Earth with news that would change everything. Jake stood alone in the ruins of the Builder Temple, surrounded by glowing technology that responded to his thoughts like extensions of his own body. He could feel other humans across the galaxy beginning to activate dormant keeper sites. The genetic enhancements the Builders had given humanity were spreading, awakening in people who had never known they carried alien DNA in their bloodstream. Jake looked up at the stars and realized that his life as a simple archaeologist was over. He was something new now, a bridge between humanity and the cosmic destiny the Builders had prepared for them. It wasn't the future he had chosen, but it was the future humanity needed. The Keeper's final message whispered through his thoughts: "Guide them well, inheritor. The galaxy has been waiting for humanity to come home." Jake smiled and reached out with his consciousness toward Earth, ready to help his species take its first steps into a larger universe.